You ever see someone lose everything and still come out swinging? Because let me tell you, 2 years ago, I was that guy standing in the Tennessee sun, clutching a crumpled $1 bill at a county auction, thinking the universe might finally cut me a break. What I ended up with was a rotting log mansion from 1872, 152 years old, chewed up by termites, roof caved in the kind of place people in town swore was haunted. And every plank I replaced, every dime of my late wife's $400,000 life insurance went straight into fresh pine beams, just like she always dreamed. But if you think the hardest part was the restoration, you clearly haven't met an HOA president with a personal vendetta. Let me back up a second, because before Constance Pembridge, the infamous HOA, Karen screeched up in her pearl-white Escalade trailing 3 police cruisers and screaming for my arrest, I thought I'd finally found some peace. I'd just brewed my morning coffee, that first scent of new wood and quiet victory, and she rolled down her window, manicured fingers stabbing the air, claiming the mansion was her son's birthright, and I was the thief. Her grown son, by the way, looked like he'd never seen sunlight outside his mother's basement. Yeah, that happened. Lucky for me, I had a secret weapon buried in that auction paperwork, an ironclad 1872 federal land grant, a clause no HOA or suburban tyrant could touch. One call to the state archivist and all her forgeries crumbled. The police left empty-handed. It felt like justice, but if you've ever battled HOA corruption, you know sometimes that's just round one. So how does a grieving electrician from Minnesota end up in a 2-year legal war with a southern HOA from hell? Well, it started the day my wife Diane lost her fight with cancer. That insurance check, $400,000, felt like blood money. Diane used to sit with me flipping through those architecture magazines, tracing her finger along pictures of old homes and whispering, "Imagine if we could bring one back to life." I was drowning in grief when I saw that auction listing, 1872 cabin mansion, Millbrook Heights, Tennessee. The photos, rotting porch, shattered windows, vines choking the foundation like Mother Nature herself was taking revenge. But you know what I saw? Hand-hewn logs and crown molding Diane would have wept over. The listing sounded like a Gothic novel, no heirs abandoned for 5 years, locals swapping ghost stories. When the bidding started at $1, I was the only nutcase in the room. So for $1 plus $15,000 in back taxes, I bought 3 200 feet of Civil War-era heartbreak. The first time I opened the front door, I nearly gagged on the smell layers of rot mouse nests and something I can only describe as possibility. Floors groaned, but they held. Door hardware hand-forged before my grandpa was born. Diane's voice echoed in my memory. "It's perfect, honey." So I sold off everything back in Minnesota, loaded my tools, and started over. 18 months sunrise to dusk, hammer, sweat, coffee, and sawdust. That rhythm became my new life. At first, the town welcomed me. Millbrook Heights, population 400 HOA since '95, where breakfast gossip moves faster than Wi-Fi. Folks at Murphy's Diner treated me like family. Tom Hutchkins at the hardware store became my mentor, always ready with advice. For 6 months, it felt like paradise. Then Hurricane Constance made landfall, driving up with that perfume cloud, looking like she could choke a bloodhound from 50 yards. "Welcome to paradise, Mr. Winters." She purred, every word sharper than her manicure. She and her son Bradley, 30 if he was a day, hiding behind his camera, inspected my place like real estate vultures. She grilled me about permits, ownership history. I told her about my clean title, how the county clerk practically cheered me on. She just smiled tighter than piano wire and said, "Sometimes the past refuses to stay buried." Turns out while I was sanding floors, Constance was plotting ways to rob me blind. Her son needed money, she wanted control, and my restoration was the golden ticket. 3 weeks after her visit, Tom came barreling into my driveway with an envelope official HOA letterhead demanding I stop all construction for violating architectural standards. Said I had 48 hours or I'd face $500 a day in fines. Problem was, the HOA bylaws didn't mention any such review process, and believe me, I checked. So I marched down to the next HOA meeting. Picture this Millbrook Methodist basement, flickering fluorescent lights, 5 board members behind a battered table, and Constance playing dictator gavel in hand. Your project has generated numerous neighbor complaints, she started. I asked for specifics. She gave me vague answers, noise modifications, while I countered with documented proof of every restoration. Then I dropped my bomb: 23 unauthorized modifications by other residents, including her own board members. You could have heard a pin drop. But Constance had a new play. She whipped out ancestral documents claiming her family's historical ownership. Board voted to suspend my work pending historical review. Only Mrs. Oakley, my neighbor, voted against her. I raced to the county courthouse. Margaret, the clerk, showed me the truth. The Pembridges owned the property for 2 years, lost it in the Depression. No claim now, none ever. Margaret even whispered that Constance had been asking about document aging techniques. That's when I realized she wasn't researching, she was learning to forge. Armed with evidence, I thought I'd won. But desperate people don't play fair. Next thing I know, Sheriff's Deputy Webb and a Tennessee bureau agent show up accusing me of illegal archaeological excavation. Supposedly, I was stealing Native American artifacts. I'd found one arrowhead during foundation work, reported it immediately, followed every rule. After hours of searching, they left empty-handed, but the damage was done. My reputation in the neighborhood shot. Constance filed a lawsuit, adverse possession, claiming her family never abandoned the property, hiring a top Nashville law firm. Word spread that I was a grave robber. Businesses boycotted me. Tom Hutchkins called to warn me not to show up at the store. My phone rang with news crews, historical commissions, and HOA threats. Mrs. Oakley recorded Constance admitting her real plan to cash in once I was gone. That was my turning point. One morning, Constance arrived with her entire circus: a slick developer, a supposed Cherokee expert, and a bribe $750,000 cash if I'd just walk away. The expert tried guilting me about Native heritage. I told them I'd need to run it by my lawyer, and oh, by the way, the FBI, watching Constance's face blanch, was worth every sleepless night. That's when Rita, my attorney, and I dug into the archives and found the ace in the hole: an 1872 Federal Preservation Covenant ironclad protection that trumped every local state or HOA claim. Dr. Morrison from Vanderbilt confirmed it on the phone. No one could force me out. No one could build condos. And any harassment was a federal civil rights violation. The next 48 hours, my cabin turned into war headquarters. Rita, Emma from the Historical Society, my brother Cal, even Jake from the HOA all teamed up prepping for the showdown. We had authenticated documents, tax credits, proof of forgery statements from 47 neighbors, who finally found the courage to stand up. Constance, of course, went nuclear, tried to break in and steal our evidence. But her goons tripped my new security system, got themselves caught on camera, and handed us a federal conspiracy case on a silver platter. Thursday night, the high school auditorium was standing room only. News vans, police-paid protesters, Constance playing patriot in black dress and pearls, even fake Cherokee Nation reps in costume. The meeting was a circus until Rita started dismantling every lie with cold, hard documents. The real Cherokee liaison stood up and called out the fraud. When Emma revealed the Pembridges only ever ran a dry goods store, never touched my land, you could feel the whole room start to turn. And then Constance broke. She grabbed the mic and ranted about her $2 million development deal, her investments, her right to subdivide the land. That's when Agent Chen, waiting in the back, strode forward and slapped her in handcuffs for conspiracy, fraud, interference with federal preservation and civil rights violations. Bradley tried to protest, but ended up cuffed too, along with their hired actor. Neighbors rose one after another. Oakley, Tom, Jake sharing stories of years of intimidation, corruption, stolen dues. The crowd roared. News cameras rolled. When Rita held up the original land grant signed by President Grant himself, declaring my home federally protected forever, I finally spoke. Nobody stole anything. I restored what's always belonged here. American craftsmanship protected by the Constitution. The applause lasted 3 minutes straight. After that, everything changed. Constance took a plea deal, 8 years in federal prison, full restitution. Bradley got 6. The fake expert, 2 for fraud. Meridian Properties, the developer, fined millions, banned from future projects. HOA funds returned, and Tom was elected president with a transparency pledge. The tax credits came through, nearly $200,000 plus exemptions. The cabin's now worth over $675,000, a featured stop on the State Heritage Tour. But the real win, this community healed. Oakley started a festival. Emma runs a foundation. Jake manages the HOA books like Fort Knox. My brother moved down. And me, I sit on my porch with coffee, watching the sunrise and thinking maybe Diane would be proud. Neighbors bring cookies. Children's laughter fills rooms that once echoed with ghost stories. I help other families fight back, now 12 and counting. The scholarship fund in Diane's name is training the next generation to preserve history, not tear it down. Sometimes standing up to bullies means you risk everything, but you just might spark a movement bigger than yourself. So what would you have done if the whole town turned on you? Do you think the law can really beat corruption, or is it just luck and stubbornness? Drop your stories below. I want to hear about your HOA wars, your underdog wins, even your worst losses. Who knows? Maybe your fight is the one that inspires the next person to say, "Not on my land." And if you believe justice still matters, share this, hit subscribe, and let's keep proving. The Constitution is more than just paper. It's our last line of defense against every Constance waiting to strike.